In the previous video, we have seen what are the different locator techniques that we are going to learn in the next few videos. So this is completed. In this video, we will learn some of the locator techniques that we are going to use in Selenium scripts. Before going into this chapter, first go to my GitHub repository, which is at github.com/supportstack, and go to Selenium-downloads. So this is the one. Go to this repository. Once you go to this repository, you will see different things here. Go to the index folder here. In the index folder, you will see different things, and download all these things and place it in some folder in your system. And once you place it in your system, open this index.html. The reason is I have developed my own HTML pages which you can use to practice. Most of the exercises in these tutorials, you can practice them using this web page. So once you go here, I will show you this one on my system. So this is where the index folder is. Once you go here, so this is the index page. So I have developed this page particularly for Selenium scripts practice. So just once you open this one, then you will see this kind of page. So using this page, you can practice most of the examples that I am going to show you in these videos. You can use different locator techniques on this one, and you can practice almost everything using this page. For example, this one, you can practice drag and drop, and you can practice how to handle alerts. So this is an alert, so you can practice how to handle alerts also, and how to upload files. So there are two different kinds of uploads here. One is the normal upload and another one is a CSS file upload. So you can practice both of these here, and you have different buttons here, and if you click this one, it will pop up some alert, and you can practice alerts here, and you will come to know how to read data from the tables. So all these things, most of the things you can practice using this page. So go to my repositories at github.com and go to Selenium-downloads, and this is the folder, the index folder you have to download. Once you download this one, just open this index.html and you will be able to practice all your Selenium tutorials on this web page. So now let's start with our Selenium scripts. In this tutorial, we are going to learn the 8 different locator techniques: ID, name, class name, link text, partial link text, xpath, and CSS selector. So we are going to learn these 8 different locator techniques, and also we will see what if the ID or name or attributes have spaces. So we will cover these two things in this video. The first one is locating an element by ID. So if you go to this index.html, the one that we downloaded it from the GitHub repository, you will see different elements here. So the first element, so this is a text box. We have to locate this element, this text box, by the ID. So right click on this one and you will see something like inspect here. Click on that and it will highlight the HTML code for this particular element, and you can see it here, this one. So you can see that input name is equal to first name, ID is equal to first name. So this is the ID, first name, we have to use to locate this particular element. So first let's start with a script. I am creating a new class here, new class. I will say locator techniques, and I will use the main method, and I will run it on Firefox browser. So I am just copying these 3 lines of code. So the first thing is system.setProperty. I am setting it to the driver.exe path, and I have created an object of type interface WebDriver for the Firefox driver class. And now driver.get. So we need to move to our index.html page. Once you go here, once you open this index.html, just copy this path here. I'll copy this one and driver.get. So this particular page, this index.html will be opened. Let's run this script and see if it is opening this page. Run as Java application. Okay, so the page is open. Let's close this one. And the first thing is we have to locate the text box element using ID. And the ID is first name. We have seen this one. So for locating the ID, just right click on this one and click on inspect, and it will highlight the HTML code for that particular element, and you can see the ID. ID is equal to first name. So for locating the element using the ID, we have created the object here, driver. So we will use the driver dot. It has got a method called findElement. So this is the method. You can see it here. So findElement. So click on this and findElement, and within this we have by dot. So we need to identify it by ID. So you can see the third one, ID. So by.id. So we have to use driver.findElement, and in brackets we have to use by.id, and here we have to provide the ID. The ID is first name. So what we are doing is we are using this object driver and we are finding the element by ID of the element. So we have to use driver.findElement and in brackets by.id, and you have to provide the ID of the element, which is first name in this case. And by just finding the element, it won't be of any use. We have to perform some action. On text boxes, we can enter some text into the text boxes. So there is another method. So there is a method send keys. So using this method, we can enter some text into the text element. So in this case, I am entering Subbu here. So I use this method send keys and I enter whatever the text I want into the text box element that is located by this ID. So what I did was, we have created an object here, and once the object is created, we have a method findElement, and we call that method driver.findElement, and then since we want to find it by ID, we use by.id, and we provide the ID of the element, and then we use send keys method to enter any text we want, and here I am entering the text as Subbu. So save this one and let's run this one and see if it works. Run as Java application. Okay, see, the text Subbu is entered in this text box. That means we are able to locate this text box by using ID. So this is locating an element by ID. Okay, now we have located an element by ID. Let's locate an element by name. So let me comment this one. So what I will do is, again, name is first name. Locating an element by name. So here again I will use the driver object dot, again the find element, and here since I have to use name, I will use by.name. So this is the method, and the name is again first name, and again I have to send some text into the text box. So I use send keys. I will say Selenium. So this is simple. We have already identified an element. We have already seen how to locate an element by its ID. So what we have to do is just replace this ID with the name and enter the name of the element here. That's what we have to do. So driver.findElement, by.name, first name, send keys, Selenium. Let's run this one and see how it works. run as Java application. Okay, see, now into this text box Selenium text is entered. So this is how we can use the name attribute to find an element. So we have seen these two things, finding an element by ID and finding an element by name. Now let us see how to locate an element by class name. So if you go to our index.html, click on the first one itself, and you will see there is a class name here. Class is equal to beautifultextbox. So we will use this class name property to locate this element. So I am just commenting this one. Class equals to beautifultextbox locating an element by class name. So again I will use driver object, driver.findElement by dot, I'll say class name. So this is the first one you will see. So just click on this one and I'll provide the class name here, which is beautifultextbox, and I will enter some text using send keys method. So I'll say again Supu. So let's save this one and let's run it. Java application. It opened the index.html page. So it didn't enter any text here, so there is something wrong here. Let's see what it is. So it is driver.findElement by.className. Okay, so this spelling is wrong here, so we need to, so this is beautiful, beautiful text box. So let's save this one and run it again. And see, now in this text box it has entered the text Supu. So this is how we use class name property to locate an element. By.className and enter the class name here and we can find that element. So we have seen how to locate an element using class name, and the next one is finding an element by LinkText. So this LinkText is normally used for locating an elements which are hyperlinks. That means there will be a link, and if you click that link it will go to a different page. And if you see in this page we have some links here. One is Google, the top search engine, and the next one is Reddit. So we'll use the link text here to go to these two different links. If I click on this Google, the top search engine, then I will go to google.com. If I click on this Reddit, then I will go to reddit.com. So for these hyperlinks, we use link text to click on these links, to locate these links and to click on these links. So let's do this one. So link text equals to, let me copy this one so that would be better. I will use some wait time here so that it won't be quick. So thread.sleep 2000, save and use throws declaration. Okay, so here I'll say driver.findElement by dot, we'll use the locator technique of link text. So link text, and we will give the link text here, which is Google, the top search engine. I'll give this one dot. Okay, so for text boxes we use send keys method because we have to enter some text, but for links we have to use the click method because we have to click the links. So this is the second one here. So just click on this and save this one. So what we did was we used the driver object, driver.findElement. So findElement is the method that is used to locate the elements on the web page, and then by dot we are using link text here and we are giving the text here, and since this is an href link which when we click it will go to a different page, we have to use the click method. So let's save this one and run this. Run as Java application. And now it has entered the text here, and now it clicked the Google, the top search engine link. So it came to this google.com page. Go back. So this is the one. So this is how we find an element by using the link text. This link text is mainly used for hyperlinks, and you can try it for Rediff also, and it will go to Rediff. Let me try this one here. I'll just copy this one, paste it, and I'll say Rediff. Now it should go to Rediff page. Let's run this one. Run as Java application. So now Subbu is entered here for the first time, and now it clicked on the Rediff link and it went to Rediff.com page. Okay, so we have seen how to locate an element by using link text. Now we will see how to find an element by using partial link text. If you see on this page, we have two different links. One is Google, the top search engine, and another is Rediff. In the previous example, we have used both these texts, the full text here. But if you want to use only partial link text, you can use, for example, here I have Google, the top search engine, so I can just use Google, which will identify this link and it will click this link. But the locator is partial link text. So let's see this one. So I am just commenting this one. Locating an element by partial link text. So what I will do is driver.findElement by dot. So I'll use partial link text. Just type P and it will show you the method partial link text, and I'll say Google, and then the click. I have to use the click method here. So I'm using only partial link text. So when we use partial link text, it will come to this one and see which is the partial link text here. So here we have Google in this one, and it will click this link. Let us run this one. Run as Java application. Let's open this one, and it has clicked the link Google, the top search engine. Let's use another partial link text. Let's say I want to use search engine instead of Google. So what I will do is I will just copy this one. I will just replace this one with search engine. So let's see what happens in this case. In this case also, you should identify this partial link text and you should click that link. So let's run this one. Run as Java application. It has opened the page. and it clicked the link Google, the top search engine, based on the partial text that we have provided, which is search engine. So this is how we can use partial link text. So we have seen the partial link text as well in this one. Next one is finding an element by xpath. There are different ways of creating an xpath in Selenium, but in this video we will see the first way of how to create an xpath, and we will use that to locate the element on the web page. So what I will do is I will just comment this one and I will comment this one also, because we will use the text box, the first text box, and we will create an xpath for that and we will locate that element. So how do you create an xpath? For creating an xpath, what you have to do is you have to use 2 forward slashes and then use the tag name that you are going to identify. For example, in this case, I would like to create an xpath that will identify, that will locate this element. So right click on this one, inspect, and you will see that the name is first name, the name ID is first name, and class is this one. For example, I would like to create an xpath based on this ID. The tag name for this one is input here. So what we have to do is we have to say 2 forward slashes input and then an open braces here, and we have to use @ symbol. And since we would like to have this xpath based on ID, I'll say ID is equal to, and the ID name is first name. Close this braces and that's all. This is how we create an xpath in Selenium. So what we have to do is 2 forward slashes, put 2 forward slashes first and then use the tag name here, which is input. In this case, since we are identifying this text box starts with tag input. So we are using input here and we are using this square brackets, and within this square brackets it should start with @ symbol first, and since we want to construct this xpath based on the ID of the element, we are using ID equals to and the ID of the element. In this case, the ID is first name. So we have to use this one. Once you construct an xpath, you can test this one if this is working or not. So for testing this one, just go here and go to the console tab here. In the console tab, put a $ symbol and X. For testing any xpath, you have to start with $x and open a bracket. Copy this one. Start with the double quotes and paste it here and end the double quotes and end the brackets. That's all. But here, since you are starting with the double quote, for the first name you have to use single quotes here and press enter. It should show you the tag that is identified. If you expand this one and come here, and it will identify the element. So if you see this one, if you put your cursor on this one, you can see that the tag is highlighted. You can see this tag, which is the text box tag, is highlighted. So let me show you again. So just move your cursor on this one and put console, okay, on this one, and the tag is highlighted. That means your xpath is correct. Similarly, you can use the name attribute also. For example, I'll say input @name equals to first name. That means you can construct an xpath based on the name attribute also. You can use this one as well. Let's test this one. So here $x of double quotes / input @name equals to single quotes first name close the square brackets, double quotes, that's it, and enter, and it will identify the same text box because the name is first name. So this way you can write the xpath. So the way we are writing is put 2 forward slashes and then use the tag name here. Since we are identifying a text box which starts with input tag, so I will say input, open square brackets, and we will use @ symbol here. And if we want to form our xpath based on the id, we will say @id equals to, in single quotes, we will say the id of the element, which is first name in this case. So this is how you form an xpath. If I want to develop it based on the name attribute, I'll say input @name is equal to first name, and close the square brackets. If you want to test it, you can test it in Chrome browser or Firefox browser as well. In the Chrome browser, we will use $x and in brackets we will use double quotes, and you put it in the double quotes whatever the xpath that we have generated, and you put it in the console of the browser, and you can test it. So this is the console, and in the console we have pasted this one and we are testing this one. Let's test this in Firefox browser. So I'm just copying this URL. I have opened Firefox and I'm right clicking on this text box, inspect element, and you can see console here. Go to the console and I'm pasting the same thing. I'm just copying this one and I'm pasting it in the Firefox browser console. So in the console, paste it here and enter, and it will show you this one. So this is how you can test it in Firefox browser. So in the console, go to the console and write your xpath and test it. So let's say this one is based on the id. Let's write it based on the name. So how I write it? I have to put 2 forward slashes and the name of the tag input on the square brackets @name equals to first name. So this is how I can write the xpath. For testing it, I have to use $x and then the brackets, but I have to use double quotes here, and I am closing the double quotes. Since I am using the double quotes here, I have to use single quotes here, single quotes, and enter, and it will show you the text. That means your xpath is correct. So this is how we create xpaths. Xpaths based on id, xpaths based on name. Now let's identify the element. So I will say driver.findElement by dot, you will see xpath here. So xpath and the expression. So the expression goes in double quotes. So 2 forward slashes. The name of the tag is input, square brackets, @id equals to first name, close the square brackets. And then we'll use sendKeys method to send some text. Now let's run this one. Run as Java application. Now the browser is opened and the page is opened, and it entered the text Subbu in this one. It took some time here because we are using some wait time here. It is waiting for 2 seconds and then it entered the name Subbu. So this is how we construct an XPath and use it to locate the elements. Let's use the name attribute in the XPath. So I'll just copy this one, I'll paste it here, I'll comment this one, and instead of ID I'll say name equals to. Let's run this one, run as Java application. Okay, so now when we construct the XPath based on the name property, then also it identified this element and it entered Subbu into this text box. So this is how we can create an XPath. Not only this ID and name properties, but you can use any other property also in this XPath. Now the XPath is done. We will see how to use CSS Selector. How to create a CSS Selector. CSS Selector, it is simple. We have created an XPath using this way. We used 2 forward slashes and then we used the tag name with square brackets and then we used the @ symbol and one property like ID. ID is equal to first name and then close the square brackets. So this is what we did. But for a CSS selector, what we have to do? A CSS selector, just remove these 2 forward slashes and just remove this. So that is a CSS selector. So this is CSS selector. So this is, you can test this one in the Chrome browser console or Firefox browser console. So this is a Firefox browser console. Let me right click on this one, inspect element, and if I go to the console, just paste it here. But it is saying that scam warning. Take care when pasting things you don't understand. It is giving you some warning message first. So in order to do this, first we have to type allow pasting. Then only it will allow you for pasting something into the console. So this is for Firefox browser only. So first write allow pasting and enter, and now you can paste anything you want. So for testing a CSS selector, you have to use just the dollar symbol. For XPath, we have used $x, right? But for testing a CSS selector, you have to use only the dollar symbol and in brackets, double quotes, and then close the double quotes and the bracket and enter. And if you see this one, you can see that it has identified the text box correctly. So this is based on the ID. We can also use the name property, $input square brackets name equals to single quotes first name double quotes and close it and enter, and it will identify the same text box because both ID and name. So we have seen like both ID and name. So this is how we can write a CSS selector. Now let's use it in the script. So in the script, I'll say driver.findElement by.CSSSelector. So now we have to write the CSS selector here. So in double quotes, I'll say the tag name input and ID equals to first name, close it, double quotes and close it. So this is already closed here, so we don't need to use this one. Okay, and then send keys. Okay, we have to use one more close bracket here, and then send keys. I will say Selenium. Save it, and now let's run this one and see how it works. Right click, run as Java application. And it has entered the Selenium text into the text box. So This is how we can use a CSS selector to locate the elements on a web page. So for a CSS selector, we will directly use the tag name, which is input, and we will use the ID or name attribute or any attribute that you want, and we will pass the ID or name or anything. So this is how you will create a CSS selector. For testing this CSS selector, we will just use $symbol and in brackets we will use double quotes and then input ID is equal to first name. So this is how we will enter this one into Firefox console or Chrome browser console, and we can test this one. So what are the differences between this XPath and CSS selector? In XPath, we will use 2 forward slashes, but in CSS selector, we don't use 2 forward slashes, and we will use @ symbol in XPath, and we don't use that in CSS selector. So that is the difference. And for testing this also, we will use $X symbol in XPath, we will use $symbol in CSS selector. These are the few things you have to remember. So we have seen the 8 basic locators: ID, name, class name, link text, partial link text, XPath, and CSS selector. And there is one more thing left here, which is the tag name. So we have seen 7 of these, not 8 of these. So tag name is left. So tag name we will see it in the later videos. So we have covered the 7 basic locators here. And now we will see what happens when the IDs or names or attributes that we are using, if they have spaces, what happens. Let's see that. Okay, so in our index.html, if you go to the second one, okay, the third one, text box with spaces in IDs, names and attributes. So you can use this one to test this. So just right click on this one and go to inspect, and you can see that the name is first name. There is a space here, and the ID, it has a space here, and the class name has a space here. So let's see to identify, let's check this one to identify this element based on ID, name, class name, XPath and CSS selector. So this is the third one. So let's go this one and ID containing spaces. So I'll say driver.findElement by.id. So I'll use first space name, because if you see the ID here, it has first space name. So by.id first name dot send keys Subbu, save it, and I'm just commenting these lines. Okay, so I'm trying to find an element by its ID, but the ID has spaces, and let's see if it works. I'm right clicking on this one, run as Java application. And see, the Subbu text is entered into this text box. That means when the ID has spaces, it is working. The locator technique by ID is working. Now, let us see if the name containing spaces works or not. Name containing spaces. So, I will say driver.findElement by.name first name. I have commented this one here, and I am trying to locate the element by its name, but the name has space in it. So let's run this one. Run as Java application. Browser is opened. Yes. So names containing spaces is also working. Now let us see what happens if the class name has spaces. So class name has spaces. If you see this one, right click on this and inspect element, and here the class name, it has spaces in it, beautiful space text space box. So it is driver.findElement by.className, and I will give the class name here with spaces and then send keys super. Let's see if it is working or not. Right click, run as Java application. Browser is opened and it is not entering the text here. If you see, there is some error it is printing here. The error is exception in thread arg.openqa.selenium, no such element exception. That means it is unable to locate the element beautiful text box. So if you have spaces in the class name, the locator technique by.className won't work. So this is giving an error. It gives an error here. Let's construct an xpath with spaces in id. Okay, so I'll say driver.findElement by.xpath, and I will construct my xpath here. 2 forward slashes, tag name is input, square brackets @id is equal to first space name. So I have constructed the xpath with space in the id. So the third element, the third text box should be identified. And now I am using send keys Selenium. I am just commenting the previous one that I have developed. So let's see if the xpath we have constructed with a space in the id, it is working or not. Right click on this one, run as Java application. Okay, so the xpath that we have constructed with spaces in the id, it is working. Similarly, the CSS selector, let us see if it is working or not with spaces in name or id. So CSS selector with spaces in, we will use name here, name now in the CSS selector. So I am just copying this one and pasting it here. I will say name, and I am commenting this one, save this one. So driver.findElement by dot, okay, this is not xpath, we have to use CSS selector. So CSS selector. Okay, so again the CSS selector, I have to take out these 2 forward slashes and also @ symbol. Now let us run this one and see if this works or not. Run as Java application. And it is working. It has entered the text Selenium into the text box. So what we have seen here is when the id, name or attributes have spaces, find element by id, it is working. Find element by name, it is working. Find element by xpath, it is working. Find element by CSS selector, it is working. But find element by class name is producing an error. This is one thing you have to remember. Now let us see the driver.exe files that are running in the background. We have run the script many times, so it should open a lot of driver.exe files in the background. If you go to the task manager, and if you see here, you can see that there are a lot of driver.exe files are open here. So this will make your scripts or system slow because we are not using driver.close or driver.quit methods yet. When we are running our scripts, generally when we create our scripts, Selenium scripts, we want to test those scripts, so we don't want to close them immediately, so we don't use the close or quit methods. So in those cases, you will see a lot of driver.exe files or Chrome driver.exe files opened and running in the background, so which makes your system or your script slow down. So you have to close these ones. So as we have seen it in the previous video, we can use the Windows command, which is task kill command. So you can just, like, for your practice, just keep it open in your system. So whenever you want to run it, the first time you have to enter this task kill command in the browser, and from the next time onwards, use the upper arrow button, which will get these commands. You don't need to type them manually. Use the upper arrow or down arrow so that it will get you all the commands that you have typed earlier. So this is the command for killing all the driver.exe files running in the background. Click on enter. So all the process IDs are terminated, and if you go to the task manager, you can see that there are no driver.exe files running in the background. Similarly, you can also get the Chrome driver.exe and enter, and you can kill all the Chrome driver.exe files running in the background. In this video, we have seen 7 locator techniques, and we have seen examples of those locator techniques and located some elements on our index.html page. If you want to download the documentation for this one, you can go to my GitHub repository at github.com/suppostech and go to Selenium-tutorials. Once you go here, this particular video starts with the number 8a, so search with 8a, and you can find the document here, locating web elements using different techniques. So you can download this document here. And one thing I request you is go to this Selenium downloads repository and download this index folder, because this folder contains an index page, which is this one, and you can practice most of the tutorials that I am going to teach you using this index.html page. In the next video, we will see what are the different ways to write an xpath. In this video, we have seen the basic way, but there are different ways you can write an xpath using parent-child relationship, using a regular expression. So we will see all those things for xpath in the next video.